Test, test, test. Check 1, 2. Test, test.
My sister-in-law does my hair look like this? My sister-in-law had the fourth. It's the fourth, right? So like,
Actually, I think I've sat in every single seat. I was here 8 years, so depending on who was there and who was in charge, who was the chairman.
Yeah,
he's like,
Yeah.
that's so
and
funny.
things
Well, I've
just
done them
happen.
all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's
yeah.
never had the requirement to actually.
I was TDC chair.
I'm
I
like,
chaired some committees.
Someone needs to
here, too.
just start refusing service until he knows all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
That's so
you're not getting what you want until
I
you
think
do
I'm not
something.
going to go before the effort.
Yeah.
It's all done.
So-
So he goes, all done,
Yeah.
all done. And I'm like, you just,
So he does know signs. So he uses
Yeah.
signs, but he doesn't use words.
that is so funny.
I don't know what it is, you know. A lot of files in here
Yes.
for your meetings.
Yes.
Like these drawers literally have just junk.
All right, Greg.
Finding any free chicken in there?
What's that?
Finding any free chicken in there?
That'd be funny. Oh, there is some ketchup packets.
There you go, see?
It's the condiment drawer. It's where everybody throws their magazines, the political magazines that we receive.
What do we do with these? I don't know.
Evolve Hollies.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Welcome back.
Thank you to our City of Palm Coast folk, for our council members for being here, and staff. Thank you. We'll go ahead and call this joint meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners and City of Palm Coast City Council. It's Wednesday, August 6, 2025. It is 5:31 p.m. If everybody could stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we take a brief moment of silence for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you very much. If I could, we'll start with Councilman Gambaro and do roll call.
Present.
Just state your name for the record.
Charles Gambaro, City Councilman, City of Palm Coast.
David Sullivan, Palm Coast, here.
Ty Miller, Palm Coast City Council, here.
Teresa Pontieri, District 2, Palm Coast City Council.
Mike Norris, Palm Coast Mayor.
Andy Dance, County Commission Chair.
Greg Hansen, County Commissioner, District 2.
Kim Carney, County Commissioner, District 3.
Pam Richardson, District 5, present.
And Ms. Pennington is absent and excused today. All right, with that, we have one item on the agenda. We are going to have a discussion on animal control, and then we will follow that presentation with some discussion. And I know we've got some decisions, at least maybe try to come to consensus on our side. They'll have public comment and any additional topics that we need to review or discuss, we can do after the animal control presentation. But at this time, I'll open it up for the presentation. I believe Ms. Grossman is going to take the lead.
I have a partner in crime, Virginia
Okay,
Smith.
very good.
And I had vertigo a couple weeks ago, so I'm kind of reading from here instead of here and here, if that's okay. Yes, my name is Barbara Grossman. I'm the City of Palm Coast Code Enforcement Manager. The City Animal Control Division consists of 3 full-time animal control officers and 2 administrative technicians. The animal control officers and myself are certified animal control officers. These are the duties of the animal control, ranging from managing cases to transporting animals to being on call. And as you can see, they process all cases. Priority calls take precedence, that we may have a situation like 100 cats in a house. Emails and assist with public records requests, front desk walk-ins, draft notices, verifying history, current licenses, homestead versus rental, pick up animals, coordinate with Flagler Sheriff's Office if necessary, transport animals to the Flagler Humane Society, nonprofits, foster homes, and veterinarian care must remain when an animal is at the veterinarian's office. So when we're on call and we have to take an animal to a on-call facility for medical purposes, not just 2 weeks ago, 6 hours to stay there with the animal while the animal is being treated. Monitor violation cases for compliance or schedule for hearings. Follow up with wellness checks on animals, and on call, they're in a 3-week rotation. So they're on 7 days and they're off 2 weeks, unless something should come up. Additional duties to the animal control officers consist of backyard chickens, permitting and inspections, the pilot program that we're in right now. Right now, we've received 18 permits for the pilot program. And we have loaner traps for the TNR cats, which is the trap, neuter, and release, or return, as well as case management for all the animals. And you can see there that we assist in special needs for residents. We just recently had a woman that was in her 80s, and her dog collapsed on her, and it was an 80-pound dog, and she couldn't get it to the veterinarian. So in that case, we assisted to get the animal to the veterinarian as fast as we could. So we also process all our legal cases. We provide proper documentation to the city attorney, the Flagler Sheriff's Office, and also the state's attorney. When we have an animal cruelty case, that goes normally through the state's attorney. Dangerous dogs go through our attorney that's for us, for the city, and we also have a hearing officer that hears the case if they want to appeal the process. We have code enforcement administrative techs, and they do code enforcement, animal control, the phones, the front desk, assistance for walk-ins, public records requests, action orders. Action orders are, people that may call in, come in, sometimes they'll be anonymous because they can be because of a situation that needs a wellness check or something of that nature. They don't have to give their name and address in that case. They can just give us, and we'll go out and check. If a dog is being left outside 24/7 in 105-degree weather, we're going to get out there to make sure that they have shelter, food, water, and they can get exercise. They process all the paperwork, and that paperwork is consistent of licensing, making sure that we have up-to-date rabies. And as you can see the clerk here, she is getting ready for those people that went online to register to license their animals. We're sending out the licensing now. Administrative techs also continue. They do dispatch of the distressed animals, running at large, dog bites, animal cruelty, annual animal licensing, rabies vaccinations, hearing schedules. We do have a hearing. It's quarterly, and that's for those people that don't license their animals, or they are 3 strikes and you're out. You can't keep letting your dog running at large. We can't keep taking your dog home to you. You've got to be responsible for your animals. So at that point, twice you get to go home, and the third time it's to the Humane Society, and then also we make it a mandatory hearing so that a hearing officer can hear it. Process payments and have our financial daily, and we email and we scan all our documents. Training certification, Florida Statute 828 requires all the animals to be certified. That is, a cost of training is between $450 to $595. The $595 is without a membership. Most of us are a part of, I don't think it's called FACA, the Florida Association of Animal Control. And we try to do that with Daytona State. Normally, it's in Daytona Beach. That way, we can eliminate having hotel expenses to be elsewhere, you know, because they offer it at Valencia College also, but then, you know, it's a trek. So it's a 40-hour class, and you must pass a written exam. You have to have at least 75%. I think it's still 75%. Valid driver's license to be able to, you know, operate our vehicles. And then we also have to take a course in child abuse recognition and reporting. That's mandatory through the state. And then what we do is every 2 years, you have to have your CEUs. You have 4 hours. We try to do it as we can on webinars or free type things that we can, you know, get it done, because it's kind of hard when we have to leave people, you know, have them go out of the county and we don't have the staff that we need to have. So we look for low cost and we look for free webinars. The equipment necessary for one of our trucks, all of our trucks, is we have the issue of hoarding, and I bring that up only because just a week ago we had 96 animals in a house, and it took not only 3 animal control trucks, it took also 2 code officers to assist in getting the animals there so that we could get them out of the house and also let the Humane Society know that we were en route with that amount of animals. They were able to set up their education room to be able to accommodate us. And I also wanted to say that we had the assistance of Community Cats to be able to give us additional crates to be able to get, because we didn't have crates for 100 animals at one time. So the trucks are customized to the standards to prioritize animal safety. They're in the back of the trucks, and there's fans. There's not air conditioning in them. And if it's where we only have 1 animal, if we can put it in the front seat and it's friendly, we put it in the front seat. He gets air all the way, or she gets all the way air to wherever they're going. There are secure and separate compartments, the ramps for accessibility. We have large dogs. You got to convince them that they want to go up the ramp. They don't all want to go. As I said, there was a ventilation system. There's washable drains so that, you know, we just had a dog that was hit by a car the other night, and of course, you have to make sure that you clean it out before we have anything else that we're going to put in the vehicle. First aid equipment, cleaning supplies, and emergency lighting on all our vehicles. We have chip readers, and we have stretchers, we have catch poles, we have traps, we have PPP for our employee, or PPEs for our employees. You know, we want to have cat gloves, we want to have, well, I'll tell you, the respirators, it wouldn't have mattered. It was nasty. You know, so we have respirators, hazmat coverings, as you can see here. We've had situations in the past where we've had meth labs, and we have to get the approval from the Sheriff's Department to be able to enter the facility, you know, once they clear it. And then we go in and we have to get the animals out, and hopefully they're okay at that point. Cat nets, we've even used the cat nets for, we tried to get a rooster, but we let somebody else do it. Not on my watch. Leashes with slip leads so that we can get the animals expedient so we can get them. We have water dishes, transfer cages, and you know, these are the everyday things that you need. Sometimes you will never need them, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Surprise. You know, not too long ago, 19 dogs and 7 cats at a different house. And fortunately, we get, between the Humane Society, rescues, and fosters, we get a lot of participation within the community. Uniforms and shirts, as you can see, we have to be identified. They need to know that we're out there. What we do is, I have it so that the animal control is on the back of the shirt. It has the Palm Coast logo on the front. But when she's trying to get that kitten down there, and we've got the fire department and we've got other people watching, they know that they have, you know, a certified person that is trying to take care of the situation. So they're professional, safety reasons, public awareness, and it's a city policy that we have uniforms. Animal control, for the cases, October 2024, the number of cases, we did 1,293 action orders. Those action orders are either people walking in, people calling, or something that we may see, dog running at large, and we have to do something with it. Of that, the animal control officers were founded of 479. Unfounded, which we get calls on, like a dog running at large. We go out, we're perusing the area, we can't find them. It's considered unfounded, 183. We had 282 dogs running at large, 161 are nuisance. That's when they like to do their business in other people's yards. And, it's really the property owner, the owner of the animal's responsibility, but unfortunately, it is a number. Wellness checks, we did 56. So that our caseload from July 22nd, 95 cats and 1 call, but we've had 2,454 calls and cases since October. So we stay pretty busy. This is how our cases worked from the beginning to the end. They call in for assistance, dispatch to the animal control officer. The animal control officer arrives on the scene, assesses the situation. The animal control officer assists animals if immediate assistance is necessary. We gather all information, pictures, affidavits. We transport the animal possibly to the hospital, nonprofits, or return to owner. Follow-up of animal control with rabies, hospital status, euthanasia. We collect affidavits, prepare paperwork for case and animal cruelty, dangerous dogs, etc., for court hearings, and we attend court depositions, appeals, and/or trials. And at some point, a case is closed, too. Of course, when we go out on a regular running at large or something and we can return the dog home, they get a courtesy notice to let them know that, please be more careful and have a responsibility. Your second time would be a notice of violation, and your third time would be a mandatory hearing. As I said before, animal control conducts hearings quarterly for violations with a special hearings officer that need to be heard. The hearing officer is contracted with the city to perform the duties of a hearing officer. And there are times that animals at large, licensing, vaccination, citations for animal cruelty, dangerous dogs heard as by required law, and that's when there's an appeal process. And then what we do is we have no sooner than 5 days, no later than 21 days to have the case heard. So we have to make arrangements with both our city attorney and also our hearing officer to be able to accommodate everybody for the hearing. And then otherwise, we have our normal hearing, which would be licensing, running at large, a public nuisance type thing. The special hearing is normally when we have an appeal process. Some of the organizations we use are rescues, nonprofits, animal hospitals and advocates. As you can see here, Canine Inline Incorporated, SMART, SAFE, Small Annual Dog Rescue, Second Chance, Community Cats, Salty Paws, East Coast Animal Hospital, Flagler Animal Hospital, Flagler Humane Society, Flagler Health Department. All of these people contribute to this community for our animals, whether it be fostering, it having to be that we have an emergency and we take them, and what we do is we rotate with our veterinarians that are giving their services to us. So we know that we went one to Salty Paws, another to East Coast, another to the Flagler Animal Hospital.
I'd like to apologize. On ARF, I did find out that the actual name for ARF
Yes.
is Animal Refuge of Flagler. So I apologize to ARF because they do a good job for us.
Yes, they're excellent, and we thank you. So, like I said, we've got a great audience of people that assist us in the city of Palm Coast. Control versus shelter services. Animal control enforces animal-related laws, capturing strays, investigating cruelty cases, respond to emergencies involving animals, handles calls running at large, animals and/or dog bites, education on animal safety and responsibility, local government funded, involves field work, coordination with law enforcement, processes cases for dangerous dogs, animal cruelty, and fitness cases. High risk due to unpredictable situations. As I told you, we've had a couple in the last week. Manage medical treatments for animals and require specialized training. and that's on the side of animal control. The shelter provides a safe space for homeless animals and strays, house animals until adopted or reunited with their owners, basic care, feeding, vaccination, rehabilitation, no-kill shelters, euthanizing shelters due to overcrowding resources. They prioritize animal welfare and adoption. They mix of funding sources, caring for animals, and that's to include medical, high risk due to unpredictable situations also. As I said, they were prepared for us when we had to bring the cats in, and manages emotional challenges, and they require special training. Intakes and service area in 2024, the Bureau of Economic and Business Research, unincorporated Flagler County was 252 square miles with a population of 19,903. The city of Palm Coast is 97.4 square miles with a population of 106,194. That could have changed since I did my presentation, but that's what it was at the time. 25 number of licensed animals in the city of Palm Coast. There's dogs, 5,665 are licensed, and the cats, 367.
Just to clarify, we have not intake any chickens?
No, we have not taken any chickens.
Interesting.
No chickens have come in yet.
Trying to catch the rooster, though.
But the rooster was caught today, so, and the person that was catching them was risk management, and it was Rick Kennard. He used to work with and he hurt his knee. Aldi's called me to tell me that thank you for getting the rooster, but he took a little fall when he went to get the rooster. So, yeah, but no chickens as of yet. Yes, there's also things like, I have my speaker here with me, situations like when I do presentations, you'll see a rat, okay? And what happened was there was an accident on 95, and they had an emotional animal that was a rat, and so we were on call, and fortunately, it was still in the carrier. We just had to find the carrier that had the rat in it. But we do have situations like that. We had a pigeon in Lowe's, which was a homing pigeon. So we could get the information and we could alert them to where their pigeon was. We've had a cat that had been running at large for some time, and the collar was embedded into its neck. So we had to get that taken out. We had to get, medical assistance for it. So there are things that come out, and I'm not one that likes to go in and get, some people like reptiles. And if we get called out there for somebody being incarcerated or hospitalized or is deceased, we sometimes have to do those type of things. That's not something we do on the overall, but we do have people that we can call to say, hey, can you come get the bearded dragon, or can you take the nasty snake? So we do have circumstances like that, but at least we have a communications and a backup to be able to take care of that type of situation.
So I'm glad you stopped to explain this a little bit, because when I saw this list, when I was looking at this last night, I was a little thrown off by things like rat, vulture. I mean, we see those every day on Palm Coast Parkway. So,
And vultures are protected.
not rats. I'm going to be clear. Vultures, yes. I don't see random
Vultures,
rats.
and they're
but-
protected. I can give you an example at Arbor Trace. They have a pool, and they kept having the vultures that wanted to keep coming over to where their pool was. And you have to have a permit through the state to be able to put a scarecrow up or to put lines with, but so we have to go through these things, so we need to let them know. It's like a bald eagle. You got to make sure that you don't touch it. You call them immediately. So yes, we do get things, and there are circumstances where they're unusual pets. They're not like the boxer and two dachshunds I have, but we do have those situations that come up.
Where do you take large birds like that if you have to?
We have a bird rescue. In fact, we just the vulture, we have to call FWC. But like we had today, one of my staff members had to go into a house because the individual is incarcerated. So we do have one woman that takes the birds in for us. So she's taking them. It's a Quaker. And he's not rural friendly, but maybe she can rehabilitate him so that he can become friendly and he can find a forever home.
Do you have any estimates on, I see the licensed dogs that we have, but unlicensed, there's obviously a population of unlicensed animals within the city. Do we have any idea what we think that number looks like?
Probably approximately, I'm going to guesstimate at it because most of them do register them because we go out. What happens is the state requires that the veterinarians give us copies of the rabies, and then we approach them. So that way, because the idea is we do not want rabies. And so I would say that probably 1,500, and it'll vary because each month I'm getting a new set of, and then of course with attrition, you have people that'll call up and because they get their letter, and we go out with 2 letters, and we go out like 3 months in advance to let you know, okay, it's getting to be that time. If you don't have your animal licensed, you need to get it licensed. But then we have them, they'll call, they'll get the letter, the animal's deceased. So the numbers fluctuate.
Thank you.
Ms. Grossman, wasn't that when you had people had to register their animals, wasn't that about 15 years ago?
Well, it's been since, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that gets to be
2010.
recycled where you see the same animals. So the vets, even if they change vets, you would still see that the rabies shots by the number.
Yes,
So
and a lot of
the
times,
code
they
number.
may not have their rabies information with them, but we're going to have it because what happens is once we get it within the city of Palm Coast, we scan it. So we have an identification to be able to obtain that for them if they can't give it to us. And some of them just love to come in with their dogs.
Yeah, okay. I just remember when you started that.
2010, yes, ma'am.
Oh, it is 10, right?
Is,
That's
that,
right.
is that an annual license?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
So the estimated startup cost to provide for services for animal control. And as you can see, these are fully burdened animal control officers, and these were 2. And then, of course, you can see that we kind of put it out for that 5-year to show a 5% increase, 3% merit, and a 2% COLA. Could change, I can't tell you what, COLA is going to be every year, don't know. I mean, we've been without merits before in our life, so that's just trying to put it out for that yearly. The code tech is also fully burdened, and that's 1, because we figured that if you have your 2 animal control officers, we would need a tech for those 2 officers. Just as we have now, we have 2 for 3 officers, but they're very busy. Health immunization, everybody has to have their rabies shots. Okay, and so that's done through the health department, and so that's a fee that you're going to always pay. And then you have the titers, which is done every 3 years. So every 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. That's a $200, and that's a titer, that's a booster. But it's just like, with one of my officers in getting the cats, was bit by one of the cats. So of course, we need to get boosters right away to make sure that we're, up to date. The vehicles, the first year, because those are 2 new vehicles, and this is a quote because I'm getting ready to get a new animal control, or the city is, a new animal control truck. They normally last about 7 years, and it's normally 82 to 100,000 miles on a truck. But then you pay into it, so by the time you get ready to get your new truck, you've put back into it through Fleet, and Fleet determines that amount of money. And then, of course, the maintenance on the vehicle, the first 3 years, it's under warranty. So, of course, most of it is handled through Ford, who, we get our trucks through. And then, of course, the 9,500 is what the maintenance is on the vehicles as per Fleet. That's their information. I don't keep that information. That's what they have. And then, of course, the IT package, that is, the computers, the MiFis, the cell phones, all of that equipment, and that is done every 4 years, Yes, every 4 years. So once you have it initially, you'll have it for 4 years, but you have a phone, you have a MiFi, you have a Surface, you have all of that IT equipment that you have to have. The workstations, those are the cubicles. Workstations are required. I'm sorry?
Software.
What did-
Software costs included.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. In the workstations, the software is also included in that. But you have to have a location for them. They have to prepare for all of their postings that they do. They have to prepare for their, all of the paperwork that they do, because it's a lot of paperwork. You know, everything has to be as to Florida statute and also to our code. And then it depends on if we're doing a big case, like, you know, the 19 dogs and the 7 cats. I have a notebook that's this size right now that's getting ready to go to the state's attorney, so that we have everything that we need. And then, of course, the overhead is everything else. That's all of, you know, our gloves, our masks, our paperwork, you know, our notice of violations. And I did it to, you know, exactly how much it was costing us now. So there could be an increase, but that's what it is running about right now. Then the annual and emergency legal funds for special animal cases and hearings. It varies, and then, of course, it goes up each year because legal fees go up each year. And then you can't always depend on how many you're going to have. You don't know exactly, so it's kind of hard to plan that out completely. Medical expenses, I did that on an average because, of course, we can't take any animal to the Humane Society that's been injured. So we have to use emergency facilities. And we have one in St. Augustine, and we have one in Ormond Beach, which is close to Daytona, Ormond Beach, Daytona.
There's no vet emergency services within the county?
There was. It used to be, and it was wonderful, when Flagler Animal Hospital was open 24/7, but then when COVID hit and everything, they no longer were 24/7. There is a one that's open, I think, 2 or 3 times a week for a certain amount of hours, but they're really based out of the one that's in Ormond Beach. And that's over there by the storage unit, by where the Wawa is. You know, there's a storage unit there, that complex right there. They have like a mobile unit that goes in there, and we have used them. Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't the Denny's going to become a?
That is going to be East Coast, that's going to be East Coast Animal Clinic, yes. They're moving from on
expanding?
Florida Park Drive into the Denny's, and yes, their capacity will be better. I'm not sure that they're going to be 24 hours. I don't know if.
I don't believe so.
Not at the beginning, no, but, you know, they do a lot of services for us, and like I said, we recognize SMART, and SMART does a lot of, you know, funding. She gets out there and she's boots on the street getting money for these animals.
East Coast is great. They do a lot, you know,
Dr.
for
Tajmer.
free. Yeah, my college roommate, so
Oh,
I know
really?
a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I had a conversation with him not too long ago, so it's been really good. Like I said, when we need something, we need it, you know, and we've been fortunate that we haven't had to go far, and we can keep it in here, and they've even taken some at night and kept them for me, and I didn't have to, because at most of the places, they make you stay there and bring them back home, but sometimes they'll leave them there at East Coast for me, and I think they even adopted one of the ones that we, yes.
It's difficult. The veterinarian industry is vastly underserved. So, you know, while we ask why aren't they working emergency hours and things like that, they're already overburdened during the day as well. So, you know,
Even my vet, and I have animal community, and they're taking no new patients.
right, exactly. They're over capacity.
I asked if I could do dishes, because I had to pay $460 for my flea and tick and heartworms yesterday, and they said no, but they had kennels. I said, forget it, I'll give you the $460. I'm not cleaning kennels. So, and then, of course, we have food, you know, and that food is a lot of times Vienna sausages to trap animals. They love the Vienna sausages, you know. I mean, I don't know what it is with those Vienna sausages, but also dog foods. We have people in the audience that are right now that are fostering Hunter, is being fostered. And he's an old man, and he has to have a special diet. And I must say that, and again, Community Cats receives some of the benefits from manufacturers, and they donate food to us, and then we can give it to the fosters, because Caroline also was smart, finds a lot of animals for us to be fostered, so we want to make sure that we're giving them food. And then when we don't have, when it's not given to us, then we have to buy it.
The last column is a combination of services A and B. So this is your totals from A, and then that's your services from total B. And that, so those are put together, and that's what it would look like over a 6-year period.
And so the next steps for consideration is the interlocal agreement. I'm stepping up, I'm sorry.
They split.
Okay. Yes. The interlocal agreement to define the scope of services and responsibilities between the city and the county, formalize a cost-sharing model, terms, and performance expectations, identify legal representation for county-related enforcement cases, staffing and resource planning, hire and onboard 2 additional animal control officers. That's what we recognize today. I mean, that's a decision, you know, for what you guys think. And 1 administrative tech, plan for certification and continuing education. If you're to get, you know, new animal control officers, we'd want to make sure they're certified. Not all of them come certified. I have one that was on my staff that we gave 6 months to become certified. So they couldn't actually write any violations, but they could go and have the training with an officer that was certified, and then they got their certification within that 6 months. Animal license expansion. I really am for animal licensing. I think it's a great thing. Microchipping, I think, is great. I mean, we have chip readers, but licensing, we can give you a free ride home twice. You know, and it's a nice thing, because I know that my Zeke, who's my boxer, he likes a king-size bed. And if he had to spend the night somewhere else, he wouldn't be a happy camper. So I am all for animal licensing. Yes, ma'am?
The other thing with animal licensing potential is to have the animal control officers have the licensing application with them. So when they're out in the field, if they're out in West Bunnell, if they're out in the northern end of the city of Palm Coast limits, they can assist those residents that would like to do it right there on the spot.
May I ask, because I didn't see in the financials a set off for any, what I'm going to call revenues, even though we're clearly not making money, but we are bringing in money for licenses. And then do we also bring in money for certain fines? And if so, is there an offset component to this at all?
I think the offset component, do we get fines paid? Yes. A lot of times, if they're in the room and they've done what they're supposed to do, the hearing officer will elect not to fine them. Mm-hmm. So the revenue is, I licensed my animal. What was in consideration with us is to increase the licensing price to assist in what our new costs are going to be for sheltering through the animal. Mm-hmm. Through the Humane Society. And what I do, also the other thing is it's not really a revenue, but when we do have a case with animal cruelty or whatever, we get restitution. Okay, and like with these 100 cats, that's $10,000. And so I have to try to get that back. Mm-hmm. And I may or may not.
I think you're likely not going to get that money back.
That's through the lien process?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, situations like that, it's tough. So, yeah, and I think that the whole licensing fee scheme is probably a larger discussion for our board.
That's correct.
Because I would hate to punish people who never have lost a dog by increasing their licensing fee because other folks have continuously lost dogs. So we'll have to come up with a
we'll have to
system
talk,
for
but
that.
the licensing fee has not gone up ever. You know,
Yeah.
it's always been $5 for you spayed or neuter and $10 if not altered. Mm-hmm. So it may be in respect to look at it's time to increase it somewhat.
So I guess conceptually then for this discussion, I think what I'm hearing from you all is that the licensing fee is really to set off what we pay to the Flagler Humane Society right now. It won't affect our operations, personnel, things of that nature.
No, correct.
got it, okay.
But it's also to, like what we were talking about, if you're out in West Benel or the the northern end of the city limits, that we're doing extra work for them as well. So it's not just, here's your paper, come on in. We're actually out there doing the work for them.
Well, thank you. I know last time we had a look at startup costs and numbers, we had a lot of questions. So I want to make sure from our side that we have some time to address those. So I didn't know if anybody still had questions for the city on some of these costs.
Under the intake, we didn't go over this chart. It was page, it's called intakes with service area. There it is. Did you
That,
not go-
actually, that's our intake. That's showing you with the jurisdiction of Palm Coast, 707 dogs surrendered, 632 cats surrendered, pocket pets or hamsters or, that nature. And so if you go down and you look at that seized, service in, stray, somebody bringing them in, stray cat, dogs that are brought in, 913. Okay, and so then it goes down wildlife in, we had 128. Wildlife, it was if, say for instance, we're having a situation with possible distemper and we have raccoons, we normally don't do that, but in that case, we would trap them and get them there so that we could make sure that a lot of times we'll have them, their heads removed and make sure that, have them checked out to make sure that, is it distemper or is it rabies? Because if it's rabies, then we need to let everybody know. And then there is your Flagler County with their surrenders, their seizes, their strays. So that was the total that we received from the Humane Society.
And you got our figures from, how'd you get our figures?
Humane Society.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carney, do you mind if I jump in for just a moment? Because I had a question on this chart. So when I'm looking at Palm Coast numbers versus Flagler County, and then the totals, I'm looking at the percentages. It looks like Palm Coast is about 86%, Flagler County is about 14%. So when I then convert that to the need, it doesn't seem that two new animal control officers are needed based on this. I can see definitely one more. And I do understand we're looking at area, right, geographical area as well. But it's my position, and obviously the Board of County Commissioners has to really make this decision, but I would think that one to start would be sufficient. And you obviously need that control. Is that what their technician? Sorry, I don't want to miss
The co-technician?
Yes, thank you. So the co-technician, probably another one of those to handle that additional intake, et cetera. But if you reduce down to one, you're talking about one less truck. And then a lot of that other overhead that's associated with it. So have you all spoke internally about maybe only if they decide to use us, bringing one on, and then if necessary, if the numbers justify it, increasing it?
Yeah, that's an option. That's what, we just brought in our numbers to just say, this is a start. If they feel that, I think if you remember when we started it, we didn't have their totals. So, yes, this all was based on, in the very beginning, saying yes to and one code tech. So, yeah.
I think that conversation also should be about what the current service level is with FHS, with the county, whether that's, I don't know how many officers that they employ for you. And so that's part of that conversation too, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, how many people they employ to provide those services now. Maybe part of the conversation to understand what the need is.
And a couple of things that happened, and I don't know with Flagler County as far as your animal control ordinance, but the little boy that was killed by the 2 pits, he was mauled. So the law changed a little bit, but Palm Coast was already doing that. So we didn't have to change our ordinance. We don't have to come before you to say that you need to microchip your dog, you need to tattoo it. We do have a $100,000 liability on a dangerous dog. We do make sure that you have your signs up. So we were ahead of the game on this. We were more stringent than the state was.
That's a good question too. If we do take into our purview the county, will that cause insurance to go up? Have we looked into that?
It shouldn't cause the insurance, you mean as far as the liability on
Yes.
no, it's $100,000. That's state statute. So, but I don't know how many dangerous dogs they do. We do quite a few. And we do an initial determination and then a final determination. If there's insufficient accountability, then the dog is not deemed dangerous. Okay, and also when you have a dog that kills another dog, you actually, you have to kill 3 in order to be put down. So we put them on notice once we have the one dog. And unfortunately, that's the state.
No, it's crazy.
I know, and I only thought it was 2 before, but by the time I got smart to all this, I thought we were going to put one down, and it had to have a 3rd one. But then what we have to do, and that's all a part of what we do, we make sure that we have all of that paperwork. We send out to let them know, hey, just letting you know, as per our ordinance and as per state statute, severe injury to an animal, and killing it, and so we let you know. It could also be that, was the dog provoked? Did the dog do it? And it wasn't a dangerous dog, it was provoked. So those are all things that we look at, and it takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of paperwork.
This is probably something that doesn't need to be discussed here, but in terms of state statute, can we be more restrictive in that regard in the city?
Not as far as being able to, like the dogs, I tried that already.
Okay.
No, I was shot
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I was shot down. I was able to do the liability for the insurance, but no, I couldn't change it to 1 dog instead of 2. I tried that, and it didn't work. And that was back in 2008 when we first took it over.
I just had one question. For Bunnell and Flagler Beach, how are they being handled right now, and who does that?
I don't have
A contract with the Humane Society.
So do they have separate animal control people?
That I don't know.
You do.
Because it seems to me if we're going to go this route of combining Palm Coast and Flagler County, we ought to do the whole county and not have any, cross problems and things like that. So have they been contacted at all on any of this?
I have not contacted anyone, no. I don't know if the county has contacted anyone.
Heidi?
No, we have not.
Okay, because my way of thinking, I personally think the way to go is to have one animal control group, because it takes a lot of money, a lot of training, a lot of capability, and if you have an animal here and another one at the other end of the county, you're going to have people to handle that. I think area is important here too. And so Bunnell is a big city now, area-wise. And I know we do roads for Bunnell, but it's and things like that. But they are a city, so I think they would have to be included because of the area that they cover now. So I would say, to my way of thinking, before we make any decisions on this, that Bunnell and Flagler Beach should be included.
I don't have any, we can always reach out.
Yeah, obviously that's up to them, whether they want to have that conversation or not.
Trying to use the mic. Hold on a second. Is it working?
I didn't know if this was working. We've talked at length over lunch about the level of service that they currently provide to City of Bunnell and City of Flagler Beach. The 2 city managers that we talked to were happy with the service they were receiving. They did know that we were having these discussions, so at least the city managers are aware. I'm not sure how much their elected officials are aware, but certainly we can bring it up again in our monthly meetings or give them something more formal if that's the board's direction.
Barbara, I had a question about, is there consideration in the cost for startup with, these will be dedicated officers to the county areas? Is that correct? They will never serve within the city of Palm Coast?
Well, the way we have it right now, we have zones. So we have 3 officers, and they have 3 zones within the city of Palm Coast. So we would have to relook, just like our code officers, there's 11 zones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so we'd have to look into that to see, because you could see that the square mileage is a lot more
Right.
in unincorporated.
My concern is in terms of training, right? Having two different sets of rules that you have to apply as an officer, whether if they are crossing boundaries, so to speak.
Well, I would hope that we would have all one ordinance, and that's what we would work with, one ordinance.
No, that would make sense, but I'm certain right now there's probably some differences.
Oh, I'm sure there is, yes.
How about on the legal funds for special animal cases and hearings? I don't know how, would we want to give that up? So you're magistrate, you have a magistrate over there? How do you deal with your cases?
We have a hearing officer for animal control.
Okay.
And then we have a city
Attorney
that would be with us, representing us in our cases, yes.
So we would keep, all of that would stay within Palm Coast? We wouldn't pull any of that out because we have a different system, I think, for animal control in the county than you all have.
Mm-hmm.
But that $75,000 to cover that sure looks like, and I don't know how many we have. We only had one that I know of this year on that bad dog. I don't know if that's okay or not. Sean, you might want to, but I'm okay with giving that up as long as we're all following the same rules, obviously. That's the way it would have to go anyway. Are you all right with giving that up?
I don't
Hearings?
know. I don't know everything that covers. I can tell you we do not pay outside attorneys. It's done in-house. We
Right.
do have a magistrate that is only used occasionally for these types of cases. The cost is quite minimal.
Right.
We don't have enough cases. But in terms of emergencies and things, there are costs built into our contract with the Humane Society that might fall under this category. When you have an animal in distress and it needs medical attention, it's in an emergency situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be something we have to look at a little bit stronger. And the medical expenses are what you said, which is when the animal has to go to an emergency or 24-hour care or something like that.
We don't take any animals that are normally injured. Now, with the cats, with the situation we had there, Amy and I worked together, and if there were cats that needed to go, then we went ahead, because all we were trying to do is get them out. But for instance, we had a dog that was just run over by a car.
Right.
And we have to take it to an emergency room. And in this case, the leg had to be amputated. And when they do GoFundMes, or when they do, what do I want to call those, fundraisers, thank you, fundraisers, those are where our smarts and our rescues and all that assist with us. But there are times that, we have to bite the bullet. And
So how did you calculate the $6,000 a year or first year? How did you calculate that number?
we took what we had of what we had spent already. So you can see into 2026 we're into now. We kind of used 25, and then what we've done since October to now in calculating how much we've spent in medical expenses.
And divided it by?
Well, normally it's 6 months. We would have done, yeah, it's probably about.
So that's burdened based on not the number of animals, or it's just the number you've spent year to date?
Yes.
It's the total number year to date? Okay.
For Palm Coast.
For Palm Coast, yes.
So I think to the point, if there's a much smaller amount of animals that are being served.
Then it would be less.
And so these are just estimates, and in terms of budgeting, we would have a budget, or a billing process, and actual costs would be billed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just one more question, just for my benefit. To be alerted till you have a problem, is it mostly through the 911 call center?
Is it mostly 911 calls? Well, there could be some from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, but it also could be somebody calling to dispatch that is a citizen that's in the community, and dispatch alerts us of an on-call situation. So then we have our on-call staff that gets to our truck at the city and goes out to the location.
So the 911 call, they have to know whether to call you or call the
What
Humane
what
Society.
what we do is, no, well, yes, they would have, well, if it was all under one, I don't know how it works out outside of Palm Coast. I can only tell you Palm Coast. So what we do is every month, we give to the sheriff's department who's on call, what we go out for, and they contact that officer. That officer's number is given to them. They have a cell phone that is a city cell phone. So if we have a situation, there's a deceased person in the house, okay, dispatch is going to contact whoever that animal control officer is on call, and they're going to go out to that location and pick up the animals, and we either drop them off at the Humane Society.
Yeah, that's not, I get that.
Okay.
But the
sorry.
point is, there's not a separate 911 call system for the county or Flagler Beach or Benel. So that it kind of left up to the 911 call, operator to kind of decide, well, is this a Palm Coast thing or is this a county thing?
That's what they're doing now, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that's not totally easy to do, especially when you're dealing with somebody in emergency and they say, well, you're in Palm Coast or you're in the county. They might not know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like if you live in Hammock, it's got a Palm Coast address, but it's not under the city of Palm Coast proper. But dispatch knows that.
Okay.
So for clarification, are you envisioning an ILA that would, I guess, look at the expenses for the actual legal costs and the actual medical expenses for unincorporated and then bill that at the end of the fiscal year to the county for them to pay within a certain date? Is that what you're envisioning?
I'd probably have to talk with finance. I'm not really sure that I can envision that part of it. I don't think that's something I could answer for you. I mean, is that something that could happen? Maybe, but it would be talking to finance as to how they would do that.
Okay, but it would be actual costs. We're not talking about splitting these things a
No,
certain
it would be
way.
actual
Okay.
costs. Yeah, we track it now, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or?
Just a question. When your officers are on call, they get a flat rate per hour, and then if they get called in, they get bumped up to an emergency level salary?
When they're on call, they get 2 hours, okay, for that shift, okay? And then if they get a call out, they're paid what they were called out for. So this past week, the officer on call had one day where she was out for 3 hours, and one day she was out for 3.5 hours. So she gets 2 on call, because she is on call, and then she gets her call back of actual time that she spent out in the field.
And having another control officer would help you so that you could possibly be looking at 1 week a month on call.
Yes, that would be a rotation of, yes. Then it would go to, one every week, so that it'd be a month, yes.
So would that be easier for you to have that extra person as far as making things, the wheels turn?
Well, there would
quicker and
have to be
easier?
an extra person if you're taking on,
Well, I'm just saying, would it be a benefit to you as well? I'm just looking at both sides. Maybe it's a benefit for us. Would it also be a benefit for you? The city? Possible?
It possibly.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be a possibility. But again, like I said, we would need additional employees. There's no way with what we have, we could do this.
Right, you're expanding your territory, so you'd have to expand your costs.
Right.
I get that.
I think what you're saying is that there could be some residual benefits, right, to the city by doing that.
It's multiple benefits for both parties. I'm just looking at a win-win situation if that's the possibility that is chosen. Thank you.
Well, your scope of work for your clerk, your tech, I don't want to call them a clerk, I'm sorry, the tech, when I went out to the Humane Society, I think it was last week or the week before, the officers, the control officers I did get to meet half of those 100 cats.
That's good.
who occupied all of Amy's office and the whole hallway and the overflow room. But the animal control officers were chipping. So it was very efficient. So if they had something else to be doing, they're working. So they're not running around catching dogs or cats or doing their animal control stuff.
Our techs are busy 8 hours a day.
Right.
They're busy, the animal control officers are doing their paperwork, and the clerks and the technicians are processing the paperwork.
I was trying to break this down per animal or per call per week, and it doesn't work that way.
No.
It's very obvious that there's all kinds of clerical / cleaning, whatever they have to do. It's very efficient, and the staff that's there, I mean, it's a full-time job. There's just no doubt.
Absolutely.
Thinking there was any lag time was an error on my part, because especially the way you present it, there's a whole lot more than just chipping or picking up an animal.
Right,
so.
and like I said, I know that some people think it's a call center. It's not a call center.
Yeah.
It is an 8-hour full-time position that's done by 2 that I have now. And, and we're nonstop, and you have to post, you have to get everything ready. There's a lot of clerical to the position.
Well, this has been very educational for us. A little session and a little quick session in animal control. I know we will have to get, I guess our next step is we will get back together as a full board to talk about our options. Ms. Caratenuto's back there, so we have an agreement with the Humane Society as well in hand. Plus, we put some numbers together in-house if the county was to set something up. So we will get back together to, I'm assuming, finalize a decision for moving forward. In the numbers that you talked about, Councilman Miller talked about potentially revisiting based on now that you have the numbers, service calls, to be able to fine-tune your proposal to maybe instead of 2, there's 1 new animal control officer. Is that a possibility now that you're looking at those new numbers?
Well, and it would be a matter of just reducing it in half, because everything was based on 2, except for the code tech was still the 1. But all it would be doing is fully burden 1 animal control officer, which is the $75,333 as a startup. And then, of course, when there's a 5% increase and 3%, 3% and the 2% for COLA and merit. So that's not difficult to do.
Okay. And
but understand, this is domesticated animals. This isn't horses and pigs and all of that good stuff.
And how about the vehicle? Would you still stay with 2 vehicles?
No, if you only have 1 animal control officer, it'd be 1 vehicle.
Okay. I had another question.
1 additional vehicle.
Yeah.
It would have to be a new vehicle. It would have to be a new
So-
vehicle
yes,
to meet the
okay.
standards that we need.
And you mentioned using Ford, Palmcoast Ford?
I think that's who they use. Do they?
It's usually a state government contract, and we piggyback off of it. And it usually comes out to be, I think, Jacksonville Ford, Duval Ford, or something like that.
And what are they quoting you on time to get a new vehicle?
It takes a while.
A month, 6 months, 5 months?
We put in our order in October, whenever.
Sorry.
Hi, that's okay. Hi. We usually put in our order whenever the fiscal, at the start of the fiscal year when the budget is approved, and we typically see the vehicles in December through March, just depending on all the ancillary equipment needed for the vehicle.
Okay.
So within a 6-month period, pretty much, right? Roughly
Yes,
within a
ma'am.
6-month period? I have one other question. I'm sorry, I've dealt with you on this from a long time ago.
Quite all right.
It's been a while. I forgot my question.
Oh, well, that's good. Lucky me.
That aging, I used to remember my
I have that
questions.
same problem.
It seems to be reoccurring lately. You can all laugh. It's okay. We're all friends here anyway, right? My thought was, it'll come back. I'll let you know.
Don't call me at 2 a.m.
Why not?
Well, I
You
guess
know I'm not afraid.
the point, just as you look and review based on the numbers that you now have on the intake is just, and the size of the area, right? You're doing so just want to make sure as you review it and get something back to us that's what you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Questions been remembered.
Oh.
Do you have any volunteers that come and work with you with this project at all, or it's just people that are
The
hired?
volunteers that we have are the people that are rescues, that are not-for-profit. Those are the volunteers that we have. I know that when, like with Caroline Traps and things, that she has large dogs. We had a big issue on Hargrove Grade. It was a dumping zone.
She said that.
And so what we did was we had the traps out there for Roxy and for Gumbo, yeah. And those are the, king coursers. And anyway, so now what we have is my staff, my code officers that I have, they start on Thursdays and Friday at 2 in the morning because they have swale parking and things of that nature that they do. So they go over to Hargrove Grade at different times of the morning, and you can see a white truck so that whoever wants to try to dump a dog is going to have it a little bit harder because they know our presence is there, along with the Sheriff's Department also doing it. When time permitting for them, they also are on Hargrove Grade. So, and I think we've seen a reduction in the amount of
gonna ask if
animals
that did some
because we're out there now. And so we come up with a solution when we can to be able to stop this kind of nonsense from happening. It's ridiculous. You know, so that's how we work it.
Thank you I know how hard you have worked with animal control for decades, really. And I respect everything you do, Barb.
Thank
you. Know that. I really appreciate it. And if you folks don't know how hard the city works on trying to keep the streets clean from animal problems, and they really do. And it's because of Barb that she has done so many things where she's bent over backwards to help people, not to harm them. And that's what government really is. That's the best part of it. And I just want to thank you personally in front of the people here who know you and those of us who have worked with you before, because it's such a different than in so many other cities when you see tons of dogs running around and dangerous situations, and you've really made Palm Coast a better place for it.
And it takes more than Barbara. It takes a devoted staff.
Of course.
And I have really a great staff, both code enforcement, urban forestry, animal control, and business tax receipt. I have 27 employees, and they're all great. So,
I appreciate that, but I've seen you feed little kittens too, so that's what matters. Bottle feeding and all, so there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was all that was on the agenda. While everybody is here, did we want to talk shelter? Did we have anything to present, or do we want to talk about shelter?
Well, really, Chairman, I thought this whole meeting was about the one sole source provider in the county being the Humane Society, and I thought that was what the discussion was going to be centered around, was trying to stand up another facility. This is more like just discussing staffing and the needs of the county and the city. I'd like to know, what is our budget for the Humane Society that we allocate, Lauren?
It's about $85,000 to $90,000 a year for the Humane Society.
90,000, and the county is how much?
It's just over. It's like 300,000 for both the shelter and the animal control.
Yeah, so I thought what we were trying to come up with a plan of action as far as standing up a new facility, because I think the Humane Society is overburdened, correct? They don't have the expansion and stuff needed to facilitate the county's needs. So that's what I thought the initial discussion was going to be about, was about standing up a new facility. And what I would be looking for was a plan of action, or a few plans of action, or COAs, because it takes a lot. You need land, buildings, staff, vehicles, equipment, salaries. And some of the staffing can be handled through volunteers, but that's what I would think we would be looking for, is trying to stand up another facility, one way or the other, how it breaks down, who provides what, if the city could provide the land. And we really don't have to have a freshly constructed building. You can use modular buildings if that's something you wanted to start out with. You just got to figure out the square footage and the needs for the runs and all the storage facilities and stuff you need within there, AC, and meeting all the requirements of state statute. So I think that's the main issue we're facing right here is, one sole source provider for intake of animals in the county. And that's the hurdle we need to get over. And these ladies and gentlemen here are all volunteers. Mr. Orr's here, Ms. Caroline's here, and we have Community Cats. Is Community Cats represented here? We had the volunteers that are willing to help out. That's what I would be looking at, is coming up with courses of action with a representative from the county, the city, and all these nonprofits that want to get involved and lay out a course of action and how to break it down as far as standing up another facility.
If I could jump in, I agree, Mr. Mayor. There's a slide that shows all the different people that help, get animal services done within the county, and there's without a doubt it takes a lot of different people, and so, I think it's important that we come up with some plan moving forward. I think we talked about it last time that we needed a plan because as of right now, I don't think we have the facilities to support what we need, and we need to do that. Mr. Orr's, he's collated a lot of information about the different options and different ways this can be done through many different counties within the state. And so we have some of that information. For me, from what I've looked at, Putnam seems to have done the most cost-effective version of that I would say that we should maybe try to emulate because of the costs associated with these facilities. Some versions of this are many, many millions of dollars. And I think Putnam came under, I think they were 2.4, something like that, and they came under 2 with their final cost. So they've done something right there in my eyes in terms of cost effectiveness to be able to supplement, the needs of these animals that are coming in.
Anybody else with thoughts on?
And Mayor, Flagler County, we contract for the animal control. So this is how this all started. Flagler County wanted to put it under, or look at the option of putting it under Palm Coast. So this was kind of like step one, and I think many of us, if not all of us, have had the same presentations. The same folks are coming here that are going to your meetings. And I agree, we probably need some type of a strategy, working group, whatever we want to call it, to look at another facility. But I think the number one goal was to get the county satisfied with the services, the animal control services, and look at putting it under Palm Coast or doing it ourselves. So this was really for us to invite Palm Coast, but we also understand the need for the expanded facility or new facility, for sure.
Yeah, I think as far as staffing, if there was going to be, adding additional staff, that would be pretty simple with coordinating that with an interlocal agreement for you guys to pay for that specific staff for the needs, whatever percentage you said that was, 13, 14%. That's an easy one. The main problem we have is the facility. And having the capacity to deal with the stray animals or the animals at large. So that's where the real meat of this matter that's been going on for a while now is specifically that, the intake of the animals and being able to foster them out and do what we need to do to, no kill, protect the animals within the community. So staffing shouldn't be that hard of an issue to iron that one out in an interlocal agreement.
If I may, I think what we need to do on our board is put it on our strategic action plan, because that's how we get funding for things. So unless there's consensus from the board at this late in the budget process to, maybe go out and do engineering, get some type of report, something to that effect to kind of get that ball rolling, Mayor, we would need to place this on our SAP for next year and make sure that we provide funding for moving this forward. I know the county in one of your meetings, I don't remember, it was rather recent, you all said you'd put it on your CIP, your capital improvement plan, which is great. And I think we committed to doing that as well. But if we want to really kick this into high gear, what we need to do on our board is make sure we put it on our SAP, and then maybe our senior staff can work with the county senior staff in some cost sharing. But I think that's got to be our first step, because that's how we budget everything.
I guess just let me be the counter to what really is being said here, because I don't have, right, the efficiencies is in a sole source provider, and as I understand, there's room at the Humane Society for additional facilities. So I don't want to just jump into, none of us have any extra money to do staffing and spending a bunch. I mean, I heard the discussion last night about just funding library positions. So we have to be really careful. And I think a new facility, don't want to just throw it out and not think of the other options as well.
Yeah, well, one, we discussed that last night, that the biggest cost in standing up a facility is staffing benefits, base salary plus benefits. But if you can come up with some type of interlocal agreement with the 501c3 nonprofits that are out there as far as staffing, that would cut down on the staffing. Like I said, the two main things that I'm looking at is land and building. A land and a building to house a facility, and the location either in the city or in the county, but that's what we have to look forward to. And I don't know the plans for the Humane Society, if they've got plans in the works. The last I heard, they do not, about expansion.
Just wanted to add to, in terms of talking about the recurring costs, right, and the staffing and those things, but the capital improvement is going to be the big chunk of that, right, that we have to handle all at once versus the recurring costs or, a budgeted cost that recurs. But at some point, we have to stop talking about it and do something, because, we've been talking about it for a while, and we've been talking about it for as long as I've been on our board, right? And I'm sure this conversation's been going on before that. So at some point, we need to get serious about creating a plan and then going down that road in order to get this done, because it will take some time, to get that money set aside. This is going to be a couple $1 million at least, plus land. So as soon as we create the plan, that's when we got to start saving for it. And, so if we decide in 8 months to do it, then that's 8 months lost, so to speak, and costs will go up, things like that.
Did you need any direction from us on that talk? Do we, where do we want to go on the, at least combining efforts on the shelter discussion?
I think, as Vice Mayor mentioned, that senior staff from the city can work with county staff to work through what that looks like as far as the providing animal control. I think the question earlier was, how much do we spend for animal control? And for animal control services, it's about $215,000 a year. And then for the sheltering piece, it's about $106,000 a year. And then if you wanted to work on capital, we can work with the city as well to come up with a suitable site and kind of come up with what that capital looks like.
I think maybe we just set another meeting to talk about shelter and where we go from here. And I would appreciate coming, before we have that joint meeting, I know our contract is coming up with Flagler Humane Society. During that presentation, city manager, if we can be presented more information on what it would look, kind of what the steps would be in order for us to look at either a separate shelter or something with the county, those options. And kind of that flow chart, so to speak, as to that decision-making process. So that way we are all well-versed prior to coming back and having this joint meeting again.
Sounds good.
Understood. I do like Commissioner Carney's idea of some sort of like task force between the city and the county and maybe a couple of the volunteers to get their input. Maybe we could meet as a task force before we come back together as a joint board, so we have some action items. So we can definitely look at that. City Council, you haven't seen your legislative priorities yet, but it is scheduled to come before you on August 19th. And I have included in there a slide about a partnership with Flagler County for an animal shelter. So this is a very big project and priority that's very multi-pronged. So having a task force to help us complete those objectives would be helpful.
I was going to say, we reviewed ours with that included on Monday.
Yeah, I saw that. I also met with Representative Greco and let him know that this was also potentially a priority for both us and the county. So he's aware of that as well in case we all decide to forward that on our list of legislative priorities. So I think he's ready to hit the ground running for that as well.
And it's a different ask than what we asked for this past year, right? So we're shifting. We're not going back for the same thing.
Well, you guys got some this year, so. Other topics. Did we want to address some other topics?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I had two. Last night at our city council meeting, our council discussed the possibility of keeping the Palm Coast Library at the same level of service. And I worked with the county administrator, Ms. Petito, to understand what the financial impact would be, and she provided me the numbers of 180 to 190,000. So I'm gonna let our council or Mr. Miller take it from there, since this was his item last night to discuss.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss with you guys, is there any wiggle room for that within your budget? I know, obviously we're all going through budgetary decisions here, but we're dropping the level of service of a very highly used asset within the city. It's a county service, so understand that's your purview, but just want to know, is there any way we can work together to try to get this funded back to the same service level that it currently exists at for the following year?
I know it's right. So you guys even talked about it. Funding it for 1 year is just a 1 year stopgap.
I don't want to get into, sorry, just so it's on the record. We don't want to get into a situation where there becomes an expectation that Palm Coast is partially funding the libraries now. But we recognize that, you're going through a budgetary situation where you're trying to find money in different places. So, I don't know. We haven't gotten to that point within our board to talk about what the appetite is for helping in some way. We just want to make it clear that it wouldn't be a renewable thing going forward just for this year, what we can do to try to get that service level back up between the two of us.
Yeah, there was consensus. Obviously, there was a majority that wanted to look at, now that we're staffing a new facility. Overall, the overall hours are going up, and the southern part of the city has a more direct and easier access to the new Nexus Center. So overall, there's more hours for the library, but yes, the one northern library has a reduction in hours. It's a 1 year budget item. We would have to bring it back, I think, to the full board when we have a full board and talk about it. But we've got one more. What's our next budget meeting? Because we've really finalized our tentative budget. My personal goal is when we reach the tentative budget that we're done, because just from staff issues with modifying.
Yeah, you don't want to keep going back and forth on stuff. And I, again, can't speak for everybody on the board, but, I don't know if it looks like splitting the difference there to get through this year, if there's any wiggle room to find some of that money on both ends.
Do they try to bring on volunteers? Is that a big, is that a big thing for the library?
We have a lot of volunteers.
Yep. Have you guys looked at that as like having one person as the primary at the city library and then having volunteers to help staff it? Have you tried? I don't know. I didn't watch your meeting and your discussion, but I know that staffing is tied to the grant as far as I heard something about that. So you guys have to staff it at a certain level.
Right.
But even if we could, but try to possibly maintain the hours in Palm Coast with volunteers and a smaller staff just as the lead in the building, you know, as someone responsible for the building. But we don't want to see the services cut. That's everyone knows that library is very, very heavily used. So that would be something for you guys to consider.
Just a question, tentatively right now, are you looking at a flat millage or rolling back at all?
We're flat except for the a reduction in debt service. We have a reduction in debt service.
Got it, okay. I thought so, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And we weren't given a lot of information on how the new Nexus Center will impact. They got to go to one or the other. So we pretty much said, you know, once we know what the Nexus Center, how it's going to impact, you know, we can look at that. But we had no data to go on for the Nexus Center. So it was a new staffing and accepted hours or open hours, level of service. And that's what we were given. We weren't given any data. Well, I think we were compared to other libraries in the area and what their hours of service and level of service. So whether it's done in Palm Coast or done in Bunnell, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it being that major of an impact. But we might get some very negative pushback on this once it opens. We're only looking at, what, December for the opening?
We're looking at December, the ribbon cutting for the Nexus Center.
Right.
When you look at where it's situated, the library system in general is expanding. When you look at available resources,
Right.
hours of operation, I think it makes sense if you're looking at Palm Coast or the southern end of the city, including Bunnell, you probably will start seeing more people showing up here on this campus rather than go through traffic up Belterra
Right.
to the northern branch. But when we looked at it, we did do a comparison against other counties that run similar, you know, library service. But I think the decrease, it's not so much a lack of service that you'll see at the Palm Coast branch. It'll be probably a little decrease in the programs. The programs are not run by volunteers. They do use volunteers, Friends of the Library, that assist with some of the like shelving of books and some of those type of tasks, but it's really the programming where you'll see the shortage in Palm Coast, and that you need paid staff for.
But you're not looking at cutting the hours.
The hours of operation do change a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
We haven't finalized what that looks like as far as, you know, set schedule. We came back with the board to show that we'd have coverage 7 days a week, shifting hours of operation in Palm Coast to allow for it. I don't recall, I can look it up, but I don't recall the actual reduction in Palm Coast.
Yeah, and foot traffic, once the new Nexus opens up, foot traffic might decrease at the library up there. Well, we don't know. We're going to have to
It reminds
see
me
it,
of when
but-
a restaurant opens up.
But we certainly don't want, you know, our library suffering up in the inner part of the city. But we'll have to see. But once that ribbon's cut and people start flowing, we'll see how it's going to pan out.
Are we collecting data for usage in the library by time and day? Is that how we determine what hours and days we're reducing?
They currently do. They collect that. When I talk to the librarian, typically Mondays and Tuesdays are your busy days. But, you know, I don't know if it's because you're closed on Sunday and a lot of people are coming in on that Monday to return material. I think that if you expand the coverage, having a library open completely 7 days a week, split between the two locations, that may change. You can borrow materials from one branch to another. If we have extended hours, evening hours at one location versus the other, a lot of those dynamics will probably change or shift the pattern. So I don't know if you can just look at the data today as it exists when you have a very small branch right now in Bunnell or, you know, South Palm Coast. So our thought was we staffed it at what the requirement was for the grant agreement, shifting, making sure that we had the adequate coverage in the programming, but adding 3 staff, and we added the library position back into that facility, so essentially adding 4 positions full-time, and then reevaluating it after the door is open 6 months to just take a look at that data and the trend to see, are we still seeing a need for additional programming in the north on Belterre and Palm Coast Parkway, or what are we starting to realize? The facility here will be more technology-based, so it will offer things that are not going to be offered in Palm Coast. So I think it really just depends. We need to monitor and kind of track that when it opens.
I guess my concern is that you start by reducing the service and then saying we can build it back after we have more data versus getting the data and saying we don't have that need, so now we can reduce that staff. So two different approaches to that.
I'd rather add staff than have to reduce somebody. And actually, right, we have the flexibility mid-year if the numbers, right, say the Palm Coast branch doesn't decline and we're busting at the seams on the, everybody gets used to on the southern end now because Palm Coast is surrounding, it may be in the city limits of Bunnell, but it's like Palm Coast 2.0 on the south end of town. So if everybody gets acclimated to having a southern branch, instead, those people that said, I'm not driving to that one, but I'll come to this one.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously we're not collecting like location data on visitors. Where are you coming from? What's your home address?
I would rather have those numbers pop at us and say, okay, we need to add people mid-year and make that adjustment.
Okay.
But I had the same concerns about initially reducing those hours.
I still don't want to lose the service level, but if we are committed to making sure that we're evaluating those numbers after it opens to maybe readjust that staffing or those hours for the library, then I think I'm okay with that.
And we're going to 7 days a week, so we are providing more. May not be the exact number of hours, but one of them will be open 7 days a week.
And is the programming translating? So if we are taking away certain programming at the current library, is it going to be offered at the Nexus Center so that we make sure that some of I know the outreach that I've gotten is that kids are in certain programming that they're no longer able to participate in, or that they're fearful they'll no longer be able to participate in. Mm-hmm.
As closely as we can replicate it and not take away, that's the goal. There is certain requirements at the Nexus Center that align with the grant. It's more access to medical and other type of like technology-based things that were written into the grant. That we need to make sure that we do. But when we look at youth programming, children programming, things like that, we're not looking to harm that program, but try to offer it. It might be at a different location, might be a little different than the way that's delivered today.
Yeah, and I don't think there would be a concern for that, as long as it's not completely being eliminated and we're offering it in some other way. I think that's perfectly fine for most people, but I would just want to make sure we're not eliminating those programs because they are frequented a lot, and I just want to make sure that those remain.
If we have ribbon cutting in December, can we, I've seen Mr. Sullivan has shared your calendar with me, so maybe in March, we come back to the city council with some numbers and show you how the facilities are being utilized and how they changed.
That would be great.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thanks for that. I think that makes me feel a little bit better about being able to look at the data afterwards and, being able to evaluate whether we're losing service there or it's not required.
Good 3 months of solid data, and then we'll come back to you.
That'll be better than what we have now. So okay. Yes.
I've got a gut feeling with all the growth that's happened south of 100 with residential properties, that I think we'll have a huge amount of more people that are going to want to come down the road from their house than having to go another 5-6 miles north to the library. I think it'll both be very well used. Both parts will be very well used.
I agree. I think that there'll be a lot more people served with the new facility based on that. I just want to make sure that those people on the northern side, aren't looking for the service and say, well, now I can't use it, and I don't feel like driving down to Bunnell to utilize those
There
services.
was a lot of misinformation that was sent out somehow, and it wasn't accurate. So I had somebody at the pool today ask me, and they thought it was going to close. And I said, no, it's not closing. So we have more misinformation sometimes than information and gossip.
I told them all to talk to Pam Richardson about that.
Thank you.
So in the spirit of our donation of the impact fees last night to you, I appreciate your donation or offer to boost the library funding, so thank you. And was there one final, was it the ILA?
Yes, one more thing. After discussing with legal this afternoon, need to discuss the interlocal agreement with the airport overlay zoning. Marcus informed me that we cannot do retroactive ordinances. The county cannot do that, and that there is case law. Marcus, you can take it from here.
Good evening, everybody. Marcus Duffy, City Attorney of Palm Coast. So yeah, after the direction that we got from City Council last night, I went upon myself last night and this morning to do a little more research. In a nutshell, and talking with Sean, the county attorney, we can't have a retroactive ordinance based on two principles. One is notice requirements. When you pass your ordinances, you have to provide notice out to the public, and that's kind of hard to do that if we're doing something back to 2016. And then also, Sean reminded me this morning that the way county passes ordinances are different than municipalities, where they have a certain requirement in their statute that it has to go towards the state, and they have a 10-day time frame when then their ordinances are enacted on that, where ours are enacted in our ordinance on the date or a set time frame. So what I was hoping to look for both boards tonight, if possible, is I did share with the edit that we had, and this seemed like there's no pushback to that small edit, focusing on noise contours in paragraph B, but if there's any other direction that either boards would like to take with this ILA, leave it as is, or if there's any other further discussion you guys like to have.
Is the second ad critical? I mean, is it, as I remember, the summary was that we had language in there already on the noise contours, so the second edit that the city proposed was really already covered.
It clarified it further and made it express.
Okay.
So there's no harm in doing that. We can bring that to you with that edit to ratify. That was the intent of the agreement, so there's absolutely no harm in accepting that request.
Okay.
So my only concern, I won't be voting to sign this if it comes forward, but I would rather be in compliance with the statute by forming the board that is that is a second option to the ILA. I think that getting more information, particularly as we look at the airport master plan, which is underway right now, presumably will come with new contours, which could kick off a new noise study. Having this board created at this time is pretty ideal, and it can be limited. It doesn't have to be in a perpetuity. We can set a sunset date. But I think in the, it's our residents and I know you all hear from them too, but it's city residents, and we often feel that our hands are completely tied behind our backs. We have no control. We have no say. And creating this board doesn't legally change that, but it at least gives us a little bit more of a voice. Therefore, it gives our residents a little bit more of a voice. And so my preference is to create the board rather than to execute the ILA. And if we create the board, we're still in compliance with the statute. It doesn't take us out of compliance. We can do that immediately. It doesn't cost anything. So that's my position on it. And obviously, I'm only one, but I would say that right now is a perfect time to do it.
Mr. Chair, I support moving forward with the ILA, including the removal of the retroactive piece. Yeah, I think it makes sense. It streamlines things, and it enables both boards to have input into the different processes. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Thanks.
I just wanted to, Vice Mayor, ask you in terms of the retroactive portion, and I don't disagree with the premise that the board may give us more input, but how does the change to the retroactiveness change your opinion about which is the best path forward?
Well, last night I said, too, that I would rather create the board, but there didn't seem to be much appetite for that. So my alternative solution was to try to make the ordinance retroactive and then enter into the ILA with the other 2 additions that I had proposed. So if, I'm just being very transparent, if there is no appetite to create the board, I will not be in support of the ILA, but as I said, I'm 1 of 5.
Was there not discussion last night about the Palm Coast? Didn't you have another addition to the recommendation for the interlocal that talked about Palm Coast being more involved in either the planning part? I didn't catch the whole part of the meeting.
Yeah, Commissioner, it was just, we had discussed the fact that this is more, the ILA is written, and I don't want to make it seem like we're not appreciative of the ability to provide input, because we are, but what the 2 additions that we had discussed were in the same paragraph. It was having input if there's any physical expansion or expansion of the contours. So just specifying those 2 items rather than, there was some, the language as it is right now is a little bit ambiguous as to how those things could be defined. So my suggestions just clearly define those items.
And is that what you're bringing forward?
Correct.
Is that what they're bringing forward?
Yes.
And that would be commentary based on planning, right? So the commentary that we would provide as a city would be based on our planners and how any changes may affect the city, rather than in creating non-conforming situations, right? You know, whether it's an increase in the size of the runway that pushes the sound contours out and then places a residential one home within a non-conforming situation. Because of that, some of the potential outcomes of that are, you know, the city now buys, or the county now buys somebody's home, right? Because they can't live there anymore, which to me is potentially disastrous, right? For a resident to have that happen to them. So it would be administrative from a planning side, where they would review any potential changes and provide commentary back to the county and the airport.
Well, we do have an advisory board. Are we calling it an advisory board at the airport master plan?
It's a working group.
Working group. We do have a working group. If you got somebody that needs to apply to be on that working group, now's the time. I think we're accepting applications now.
Do you guys have that defined in terms of, is it all residents? Do you have like strict?
There's actually no resident slot. There's not a slot on the, it's all professional.
Okay, so it's based on specific expertise.
Yes.
Okay.
People with experience in aviation or commercial development. There's several other categories. So a planner, for example, would be appropriate.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would make sense to have somebody from Palm Coast specific on that, representing the interests of Palm Coast.
Mr. Miller, that is, talking with staff, that is a plan to have someone on there.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, great. Okay.
So Sean, this will come back twice. Well, we'll get to see the interlocal again 2 times, right?
Can I also add that I'm not sure if you're aware, because it goes back to 2015, but we do have a joint planning agreement. It's an interlocal agreement between the county and the city of Palm Coast for development in and around the airport. And it requires coordination at the staff level. And we do that, you know, BJ's, Airport Commons, anything that is in a particular geographic area defined in that agreement requires the staffs to provide the other jurisdiction the information so they can comment and be a part of that process. As far as the board that Councilwoman Pontieri mentioned, it's not the same as the master plan group. What that board does is it would do what staff is doing under the interlocal. So if someone wanted to build a 10-story building at the end of the runway, there's a way to say, whoa, wait a minute, we can't do that. It's very much looking at numbers in terms of the height of a structure and the distance from runways. It's not going to help the residents who are upset about the noise. The Now, the noise contours will be updated as part of the master plan update. That's part of that process, and that will happen. And if they expand, we have to let you guys know, absolutely.
From my perspective at least, I have full confidence in Outward, right? We control that zoning and growth in that way, planning. My concern is development within the airport and how that would then change these contours, and ensuring that there's the appropriate feedback to say, we're not creating non-conforming situations by changing the airport in any way, the operations, the runways, however that works. I can't foresee what the potential future changes are, but based on these contours and based on the sound, the overlay and the sound contours, I want to make sure that we have input so that they don't then infringe on existing properties and create a non-conforming situation.
Yeah, I share those concerns, but I will tell you, my biggest issue is that this should have been done 10 years ago. And I don't want us to sign our name to something. That's it. So this was an avoidance on my part to not force our city to sign an agreement that I think should have been done long ago. And so, again, that's just my position. And so creating the board, respectfully, was a way to, I don't want to say get out of signing that agreement, but truly not committing to saying, we're okay with this, because I'm not okay with it. And, I guess from that standpoint, it is a little frustrating because here we are basically being told we didn't do something, i.e. the county, and it was none of you, obviously, up here now. And Mr. Moreland, I don't know if you were in that seat. Forgive me, I don't know. But essentially, the city is being faced with an ILA that is being put in front of them, and we're told you need to sign this so that you're in compliance with the statute, when this should have been done a long time ago. So fundamentally, that's my issue. My offer or my suggestion to create the board in lieu of signing the ILA was for that reason. If that's not the will of our board, then presumably they'll move forward with the ILA. I appreciate the changes being accepted so that at the very least we can have those as we move forward.
Very good. I know I wasn't here. So I think we're good with that. We got proper direction. Okay. When will we see those edits? Going to bring those back quickly?
Already sent to Sean?
Yeah, I've got them. We got the
Okay.
edits, yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Anything new for the agenda? All right, seeing none. Administration, anything new?
Nothing new, but you had asked earlier about the timing of when you're going to see the budget in front of you. I think it had to do with the animal control discussion. So you're expected to have your first public hearing on September 11th.
Okay. Yeah, we've done the tentatives. First public hearings coming up. Okay, very good. All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Public comment.
Public comment.
Commissioner?
My apologies.
Commissioner, I do apologize, and I will go back and watch the public comment, but I do have to leave because I have a little one I have to pick up from Nanny. But I will watch the public comment, and if you all want to contact me directly, obviously I'm always available to you. But thank you, commissioners, and thank you, city council. Thank you, staff. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you. All right, as long as you guys aren't throw stuff at me now because of my omission, you can come up and we'll have public comment. Just state your name and address the board.
Nick DeSantis, known for the dog father down here in Flegler County. You brought up one of the most important points. We need to figure out a way to attract a overnight emergency. I can tell you experiences where I couldn't get the animal fast enough to over to St. Augustine and to the Almond Beach one. If we can find a way to attract someone to do that, there's a lot of money to be made in that too, by the way. overnight gets double the amount that you do during the day. So let's try to attract that area. As far as licensing for the dogs, I agree 100%. You guys are doing a great job. I know I get my notice every month. I think what you may want to do is let people know you're out there. Oh, she left. They need to let people know that licensing needs to be done here. Maybe put it up there, put a sign up, or advertise it somewhere, because every person that I talk to doesn't even know that they need to be licensed. See, I won't transport a dog that's not licensed. And I tell them that. I said, I didn't know I needed a license. I didn't know that we're required to have a license for our dogs down here. So maybe that's something she needs to look into. Advertise it, let them know. It's gonna make you money anyway. So that's, I think, where we're losing a lot of our dog owners and cat owners. They don't know. Okay, that's all I have to say. And you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, thank you all for being here. Wendy Tremarchi, Flagler County. So just a couple things about tonight. First, Mayor, thank you so much for bringing up the shelter, not just animal control, though animal control needs to be done first. But it needs to come up. I know that you're both going to look into that. It needs to be done. There is not one space opened up in over 20 years. And the structure is really, really bad and very old-fashioned, and there is no money. They've told you that. No money, no space, no anything to make it bigger. So whether it's done as a joint, which would probably be great, or not, it needs to be done, and it needs to come up next year for funding somehow. The city animal control does it right. They are a wonderful department. They just do it correctly. If the county is going to do it on their own animal control, you need to have county licensing. When I moved here a couple years ago and I found out I didn't have to license my dog, I was in shock. I had the girl go and find out from another office to make sure she was correct, because I just couldn't believe it that you didn't have any licensing for the county. Prefab buildings, when it comes to a building, prefab buildings, we did a lot of work on that. A lot of counties are doing that. You don't need, the county administration came up with $4 or $5 million. That is not what we came up with, and that is not correct in true figures. We came up with true figures other than the land. The county would be very, very surprised at how many animals come from the western part of this county that are never included in the figures that Barbara brought up, because they aren't brought in by the city or the county. They're brought in by Community Cats, they're brought in by SMART and a couple of other organizations that bring them, that go, trap them, bring them in, get them vetted, and get them adopted. So there's a lot of western part of the county that aren't in those figures. So you have to take that into consideration. I would love to see a joint animal control and have all the same laws, because they have perfect, if you read the whole thing, it's amazing, their laws for animal control. It would be wonderful to me to see that department do it all for the both of them. I think it would be great, because they do a great job. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Cameron
Good evening.
Orr.
Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate everybody's time tonight doing this. I'm encouraged that we're talking about a joint working group between the city and the county to talk about sheltering. But I want to emphasize, I guess primarily for the Palm Coast folks' information, I want to reiterate some comments that Ms. Saris made to the county at your meeting Monday morning. We know there are a number of people in this community that are willing to stand up a foundation, a 501c3, in support of a second shelter. Our issue becomes, where's that going to be? And we don't have an answer. So I know that money is an issue for standing up and buying buildings and building buildings this next year. But if we only had a designation of the land that we could set aside for a future shelter, then we could go to those people and say, the land has been designated. I don't think that comes out of the tight budget issues. Yeah, it's a money issue. But if we could get that done, I think we could see some of these organizations coming forward, starting to raise money, starting to assist in a number of ways. And I just wanted to reemphasize that Ms. Saris mentioned that to the county on this past Monday morning at their meeting, but Palm Coast folks didn't get to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good
good
evening.
evening. Kathy Saris. Yes, a few things. I think combining the animal control is a no-brainer, okay? You know we're looking forward to having a shelter because this shelter just cannot handle what they have, okay? So we got to have a shelter, and you all know that. All right, so you're going to have to need, you're going to need code enforcement in the county also. So do it now. Get them all experience, get them all, you know, acing their jobs. And then by that time, in the next year and a half, we'll have our shelter, okay? Because somebody needs to provide land. If you tell me to go to Bunnell and talk to them, I didn't even know they paid them separate. So between the city and county, you're paying over $384,000 last year, or projected this year, to the shelter to house these animals. So you have animal control. What do you do with the animals? Hand them over with $384,000. Okay, so you can save almost $500,000 every year, and it's only costing you now $2 million to build a shelter. I've been networking with contractors. They want to do like a Habitat for Humanity. Okay, I'm speaking to one of the teachers that does AC at the Flagler Technical School. They want to help. So many of these residents are saying, yeah, I'll be there and I'll bring my son. How can I help? And they say, where's the shelter going to be? Okay, it's like there's a hope of a unicorn, you know? You can't just hope. You got to say the shelter's going to be wherever you guys want to put it. Hargrove, we don't care. We're all volunteers, and we're all there that's going to help you. Let's do a Habitat for Humanity. I will do fundraising, but I can't unless I have a designation, because the first question is, where's it going to be? Okay? So they need to believe there's a shelter. I believe it. This whole group believes it. But the residents, they don't believe it until they want an address. Where's it going to be? Okay? So they all want to help, but you got to tell us where. Thank you. And I appreciate all the effort you guys are putting into this, because I know it's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I feel awful. I always got to raise that up, right? When I go.
That's why it's adjustable.
Always taller than everyone. Anyway, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to see us at this point. Thank you to Mayor Norris and Ty. Thank you guys for really bringing that out. And like Ty said, we don't want to wait 8 months more, you know, to start and have a starting point. We need to do something. We need to do it rather quick. We're taking in dogs at high numbers right now, and I'm just speaking for our organization. Doesn't include community cats and other rescues that are helping. Like Barbara said, she has several rescues that she reaches out to. We are trapping dogs that are dumped every week. If you look on Facebook, in the 5-minute spare time you might have, you'll see us having traps set and working with City of Palm Coast very closely to get the dogs safe, begging for foster homes and places to house them. A lot of those dogs, one of them we had to send off to board and train today, year-old shepherd, a $3,000 training. Barbara just had a dog hit a few nights ago. I had to call her and wake her up at 11 o'clock at night. She's always a phone call away, even after hours. So for that, I'm thankful that she's always on call. outside of SMART, I'll always help raise money. So for county, city, I do it all the time for Barbara now, just so you know. If there's a dog hit by a car and there's a $3,000 bill, I'll raise the fund so it doesn't go to the taxpayers. That's something that regardless of having an organization and our own expenses, I'll always do to support the city and the county dogs. So just like to see it get there. I don't want, like Mrs. Pontier said tonight, you know, something should have been 10 years ago, done 10 years ago. We don't want to be here about the animals next year saying, you know, we're in the same exact spot with no land, no money, no nothing, animal control issues. I mean, Bunnell being happy about their service, I think I need to go visit them and show them the amount of dogs I've picked up in Bunnell, in the city of Bunnell, that are hit by cars and dead. It's probably one of the most brutal tasks that I have. So maybe them being happy with their service is because they're not knowledgeable. I haven't been there, so hearing that tonight, I will be there with photos for them to see how many times I'm responding to calls on a weekly basis. I don't think they have that number. So if you don't know, you probably are happy with it. But our county has a lot of issues with animals. I'm hoping that we can get animal control under the city. I think that's the right way to go. Nothing against the county. I think you guys would ace it if you took it. But the city has an amazing program that's working very well. I work very closely with them. Like I said, I called Barbara at 11 o'clock to get her up the other night, a dog that had needed an amputated arm. And we would work together to raise that fund. So I hope we can push this along for sheltering as well. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Ty and Mayor Norris, for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. I'll bring it back to the closed public comment. Again, I apologize for jumping the gun earlier. I got some dirty looks, and I was like, so sorry. I know some people were anxious to get home, so I jumped the gun. Anything else from the dais?
I just want to say thank you to Carolyn for all the hard work she does to have a volunteer like constant. I watch her, I get her Facebook posts and I see some really rough things and she handles it like a true champion. And I know that she's working with the city because Barbara's one person that's such a force, and you're another one. So I want to thank you personally. Thank you for what you're doing. And of course, all of you folks that have got your heart and soul into it. We've talked about this before. So thank you again.
Any final comments?
I was just going to say, thank you to everybody. Obviously, everybody in this room, does a lot for the animals in our community, and there's a lot of people not in this room that also do a lot for our community in terms of that. I would say, in terms of staff, I'd like to see, we talked about options and not just, buying and building, but what other options are out there. But something to work on when we're, going through that task force process is options for land, where we can put this so that if that's the ultimate decision to build something, then that's the starting point to identify where that's going to go. So I'd like to see some of those options as well as part of that.
Just I wanted to reiterate my point that on the animal control side, that I really think we'd be better off if we could have one facility doing it for the whole county. And therefore I brought up about, Bunnell has a lot of area now, and Flagler Beach. So I didn't get a lot of support on that, but I still think that that is the way we should go here, and not do a piecemeal situation even now, and then a year from now or a year and a half from now we'll find, well, it didn't make any sense not to include Bunnell and Flagler Beach at the time. And that would be additional funding to make that animal control group work, and maybe that would let you have 2 additional people, not just one.
Councilman?
Thank you, sir. I think it's great that this group of public officials is zeroing in on this topic and tackling these issues. And for everybody at home that's listening, the key takeaway tonight is that we're making it a priority, on the city side for sure, with our legislative priorities coming up, that we're going to start moving forward on that. But and also our strategic action priorities to make, try to bring to bear long-term resolution to the issues that everybody's brought here tonight. So we're making it a priority, and it's great to be working with battle buddies on the commission side that are also focused on it. So thank you for a productive meeting.
Thank you. Mayor? We're good. Ms. Johnson, let Barbara know we appreciate her time coming out here this evening and for the presentation. Thank you, everybody here, for coming out, for listening and for speaking. Thank you. And for everybody here, thanks for coming here. I have motion.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, everybody.